Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to Anguilla. We are here today in the black box Britain Norman Islander with the Anguilla Air Services livery. The other day we did the world's shortest international commercial flight, and today we're going to fly to the world's shortest commercial runway. So without further ado, engage the toe brakes. External power supply on. You turn the external power supply on whether you have external power connected or not. Don't ask me why. External power supply on. Rotating beacon on. Mixtures and props full forward. Master and battery switches on. Fuel valves open. Fuel pumps on. Magnetos on left. Take a look outside. Well, actually, yeah, I always forget that this stuff is all engaged here. Take a look outside. Let's crack this window too. It's hot out. Both virtually and literally. It's 80 degrees in New York today. Let's take a look outside. Make sure there's nobody outside to kill or maim, and there is not. Let's get that right engine started. Crack the throttles. I forgot to do that. Good start. Oil pressure looks good. Check the left prop. Left prop is clear. Good start. Oil pressure good. Mags to both. Close the starter hood cover. Fuel pumps coming off. Avionics master and battery switches on. Lean the mixtures for taxi. Remember, you cannot lean the mixtures too much. The worst thing that will happen is the engines will quit and then you start them again. No big deal. Nav and strobe lights on. Transponder squawking altitude, which is fine for what we're up to here today. Couple of house cleaning items to do before we get going. Our on-course heading today is going to be 200, which if I keep spinning my button on my Honeycomb Bravo, we will get to in approximately 45 minutes. So I'm going to use my mouse instead. This doesn't move a whole lot faster, does it? There we go. CDI is changed to GPS. CDI, of course, stands for Course Deviation Indicator. You guys knew that. If you are a knowledgeable group. Alright, 122.8. Alright, I'm pretty happy with what we've got going on here. Mixtures are lean for taxi. Let's release the parking brake. Toes are on the brakes. We're good to go. As soon as the airplane gets moving, I have to give it a little nudge here. As soon as it gets moving, tap those toe brakes. Just make sure they're working. The reason you do that is because if the brakes aren't working, then your only option is either to roll to a stop or hit something. And you'd rather know that when you're going 1 mile an hour than when you're going 15 miles an hour. Anguilla traffic, Anguilla 264, taxiing the runway 11 via taxiway Bravo, Anguilla. Now 10 minutes looks about correct. I didn't know any better. I think maybe I somehow goofed and left the chocks on or something because the airplane just wasn't moving very quickly. Senegal Airways here in Anguilla, that makes sense. I'm still trying to figure out things like why there are jets at St. Bart's and so on and so forth. I just spend more of my time flying than I do messing around with stuff, which is one of the reasons why I like Microsoft Flight Simulator. Coming from Prepared, where I used to spend about 4 hours tinkering to every hour I flew. the hold short line here, and we will do exactly that. We will hold short. Alright, let's set the takeoff flaps, turn the fuel pumps on. Landing lights coming on. I'm going to close this window here. Alright, trim is set for takeoff. On course heading is going to be 200. It's going to be a right crosswind, right downwind actually, departure. I don't know why that always turns off for some reason. That always disappears, that yoke. Alright, I don't see any traffic on the old iPad here. I also don't see any on the very old GPS. And my Mark 1 eyeballs don't see anything either. Alright, let's get rolling here. Anguilla traffic, Anguilla 264, taking off runway 11, right downwind departure to the south, Anguilla. Alright, mixtures and props full forward, fuel pumps are on, flaps are set. We are ready to rumble. Winds are 110 at 11 today, so it should be pretty tame. Should be a pretty tame wind. Alright, one last check of the runway. Runway looks clear in both directions. Alright. Let's get out on center line. They painted it there for a reason. Alright. One last check. Fuel pumps on, flaps are set, mixtures and props full forward. Alright, heading indicator checks with the runway number. Takeoff power is coming in. Takeoff power is set. Engine instruments are in the green. Airspeed is alive. Accelerating normally. 60 knots. 65 and rotate. Might wonder how long should it take your airspeed to come to life? And the answer is very quickly. If you got your engine check done, your engine instruments check done, and you look over at your airspeed and it's not moving, you would be right to ask why. Why are you not moving? Flaps are up. Let's get a nice look at Anguilla here. Let's see here. Went through 1,000 feet. Turn the fuel pumps off if we can. I really wish I could. I can't bind those to my Bravo for some reason. After you turn the fuel pumps off, you always want to check your fuel pressure. Fuel pressure is fine. And we're climbing wonderfully here today. Passengers a stomach ache, and here we are. So in addition to see by checking our CDI that our course is over to our right. You see that? There's our little airplane. Course is off to our right, so we'll just continue on this heading, which is an intercept heading. We're going to intercept that course. Just wait till we center that needle, and then we'll hang a looey and head for Saba. Climbing to 3,000 feet today. I'm just trying to get the nose down just a little bit. I want to get that airspeed of about 100. It's not going to matter in a second here because we're going to be leveling off at 3,000 feet. Alright, pull those props back a little bit. Pull the manifold pressure back to 3,000. Let's get that nose down. Level this airplane off and we'll do some trimming. See that CDI needle, the course deviation indicator needle on the OBS is coming in. What is an OBS? That is an Omni Bearing Selector. And you might say to yourself, huh? What's that? Omni means, you know, all the way around, any direction. Omni Bearing, which selectors, you can basically select any bearing. Bearing is another, well, it's not another word for heading, but it's sort of another word for heading. So we'll now come around to heading 200. Still trying to get this everything trimmed. It's curious, but you can't really. And so we're aimed at them. We're going to that island over there, right? You can't really just point at it and expect to get there. See, what it looks to me right here, like we're off, you know, aimed off to the left. The reality is, the wind may be telling a different story. Right? Princess Juliana, traffic Anguilla 264, overflying the field at 3,000 feet north to south. Princess Juliana. And what a cool view we get here. Flying over Princess Juliana. Absolutely gorgeous view. Whoopsie daisy. Look at this. 1,000-foot climb rate. 1,000 foot per minute climb rate. We got shot up from that. There we go again. Look at this. Look at this climb rate. And that's simply from going over the terrain right here, which is, you know, presumably from the concrete, I guess. But to me, that's just to say overdone is the understatement of the century. So let's get back inside the airplane, start paying attention to what we're doing here. Clean these mixtures a little bit. Not going all that far today, so not really too worried about leaving my mixtures. I am, however, worried about the fact that I'm 300 feet above my desired altitude and still climbing. I'm just roughly trimming using the EGT over there. Not being particularly not being particularly not being particular about it, I guess is what I'm trying to say. So we did this flight, we did the world's shortest commercial flight the other day, world's shortest international commercial flight, which is from Princess Juliana to Anguilla, and or the other way around. And today we're flying to the world's shortest commercial runway. The runway here at Saba is 1,300 and either 1,350 or 1,375 feet long. One of the two. In any event, it is short, and I mean, so I don't know if this will really give you perspective. And this airplane will not stop climbing. But so near where I live in central New York, and near where I live there's an airport called Frankfurt Highland Airport. I believe it is 6 Bravo 4, I think is the airport identifier for it. And wow, it's even shorter. Saba is 1,315 feet long. So Frankfurt Highland Airport here in New York is the airport where we do our short field takeoff and landing practice. And the reason we do it there is because it's got a short field. So the place where I fly out of, the place where I've done all my training, is Kilo Romeo Mike Echo, which is Griffiths Airfield, which is a former B-52 base in Rome, New York. Now, so I fly either a Cherokee or a Cessna 150 out of there, and the runway at Griffiths is 11,600 feet, something like that. It's longer than JFK, longer than Newark, longer than LaGuardia. It's like, you know, and the joke is you can do takeoff and you can do touch and goes without turning. Like you could literally take off and land a couple times before you actually ran out of runway. But anyway, because our runway is so big, so long, it's just, you know, we've got to practice short runway painted in the middle of it, and you can use that to simulate a short field, but it's just not the same, right? And so what we do is we fly over to Frankfurt Highland, and Frankfurt Highland, our short field feels like a postage stamp compared to Griffiths, where I fly out of. And the runway at Frankfurt Highland is 2,750 feet long. So this runway is less than half the length of what I consider a postage stamp. So it's very challenging. Let me make a radio call here. Saba traffic Anguilla 264, 10 miles to the north, inbound runway 12 Saba. And what kind of adds to the difficulty of this landing is that number one, the runway is sloped away from you, landing on runway 12. But the other thing is that is that there's no real. It's kind of hangs off the edge of the island in its own little spot, right? Its own little kind of outcropping, and so you really don't get a very good. There really isn't a very good visual reference. So the runway is so small to begin with that you're always going to have the feeling that you're too high. So that's the visual illusion that you'll get from a runway that's too short. You're always going to feel like you're higher than you are. We're at about 7 miles now. Props back. I've been fighting the trim of this airplane the entire way over here. It's been a little bit annoying. And you add to that kind of the lack of visual references, and it's very challenging. It's a very challenging runway. So we're basically on our left base rather for runway 12 right now. The way we know that is we've got 12 here on the left tick mark, right? So that means we're on a left base for runway 12. There's a lot of little tricks like that that you can use. Saba traffic, Wheeler 264, 5 miles to the north, inbound runway 12 Saba. A lot of little tricks like that that you can use to kind of help yourself. I try to make flying as simple as possible, just because I'm not very bright. I need all the excess brain power I can get. So let's start leveling the airplane off here a little bit. That's going to bring the speed down. It's going to get us into the flap operating range. 115, I can bring down that first notch of flaps. Alright. Few pumps are on. So, like I said, it's a challenging little runway. Man, I've been just fighting and fighting and fighting this trim the entire flight. I'm gonna go mixtures, or excuse me, props full forward. And we'll get down into the white arc. I'm going to put in that second notch of flaps. I'm going to bring out some more power just because I think in addition to looking high, I actually am high at this point. And we'll start angling it in here. I'm going to drop some altitude here. Saba traffic in Wheeler 264, turning a 3-mile final runway 12 Saba. That much altitude. So the big thing here, fuel pumps on, flaps are set, mixtures and props full forward. The big thing I want to watch right here is speed control. Airspeed control is the key. Saba traffic in Wheeler 264, 2-mile final runway 12 Saba. Airspeed control is absolutely everything on this landing. And I'm at 70 right now, which I'm pretty happy with. Start nosing it down a little bit to 65. I feel like I'm a little high right now, but I'm okay with that. I'm starting to get less okay with it. We're getting in a little closer here. So you trim for airspeed, power for altitude. So I'm trimming a little bit to try and hold this 65. I want to be able to hold 65 without any pressure on the yoke. Saba traffic, Wheeler 264, short final 12 Saba. And airspeed is looking good. I'm pretty happy. I feel high. I don't think I'm quite as high as I'm getting the impression of being because of the length of the runway. The one thing I am paying attention to is which way the 1-2 is moving in my windscreen. If it's moving up in my windscreen, I'm losing altitude. If it's moving down, I'm gaining altitude in reference to the glide path. So airspeed is alright. I'm feeling relatively confident. Pulling out the power here. Oh. And don't toy around. Get it on the ground. When you get below that 40 knots on your airspeed indicator, that's the bottom of the white arc, right? You're below that, you can't fly. So once you get down there, haul that yoke back, because what that does, it gets the elevator in the wind. Helps slow the airplane down. Aerodynamic braking. See, if you pull that back, you get that, just that little bit right there of getting that elevator up into the wind. Plus it puts weight on the main gear. So when you pull the elevator back, pull the elevator up like this, what you're doing is trying to get the nose up. And even though it can't get the nose up, that action will help get more weight on the two main gear, which is going to help your braking because that's where your brakes are. So, last of the lessons for today, I do believe. Alright, we're just going to come to a stop here. Mixtures to idle, cutoff throttles are idle. Parking brake is set. Let's crack the window here. Alright, let's turn our lights off. Avionics, master, and battery off. Before we turn the mags off, I don't know why you do it before you turn the mags off, but you do. Mags are off, master and battery switches off. A friend of mine is A&P, airframe and power plant mechanic. The boarding steps and the chocks. And he teaches A&P students, and he says, "Oh, you dolt!" He I forgot to put the flaps up. It's one of my pet peeves. I hate that. Flaps are up. Turn the master and battery switches off. Anyway, my friend Pete, who's the airframe and power plant mechanic, says always turn your avionics master off before you turn the mags off. I think it has to do with like possibility of a power surge and blowing out your avionics. So here we are in Saba. Really cool airport, the world's shortest commercial runway. I'm not going to lie to you and tell you that landing was pretty, because it wasn't. It was effective. I kind of felt actually like I was really going to go long and might have a tough time stopping the airplane, and in the end I didn't. But that's what it felt like when I got down towards touchdown. But all worked out well in the end, and you have now seen the world's shortest commercial runway, 1,315 feet, and you notice this plane used about a third of it. It's ridiculous, the performance of this airplane. All right, I hope you guys are doing well. Take care.